Hi, Beate. I'm so happy that you could join us, and I'm glad that you will have the presentation on and behavior at the conference PDT AGM this year in Slovenia.
Thank you for having me. It's going to be so interesting, and I really love the topic, and I love that it's like a weekend of pain and behavior because it's such a big, important topic when you do dog training. It really is.
Yeah, that's true, and that's why I'm so happy that you are prepared to talk about it. But let's start with your journey because you started in dog world with the dog training or dog behavior, and only then started with canine myotherapy. And I am wondering what led you to this decision to not just do the behavior, but also to do a little bit of physical work with dogs.
Yeah, I think I'm going to answer the same as everyone else. It all starts off with the one dog that you can't help. So I did behavior for quite a while, and there's more factors, to be honest. First of all, when you work with behavior, there is not many people treating dogs that really want to clients because it's like heavy behavior cases, aggressive dogs and stuff. And also, when I did behavioral work, I saw that there is a lot of pain related to the issue, and I didn't know how to fix it. And when you have an aggressive dog or a dog with behavioral issues, it is hard to seek help. It's hard to go to the vet because you get judged all the time. Oh, but you have to do this, so you do this. Or not just vets, but every every part of the road when it comes to getting help for your dog is really, really hard and it's really sore. You really get, it's a really bad feeling. So I went like, okay, but what can I do with this? So in 2014, just 2 years after I was done at Turid, I started Galen my therapy education, but I had a dog, a rehome dog that I couldn't leave for the amount of time, so I had to stop. So in 2018, I finally could do my Galen myotherapy diploma, and yeah, it's just such an important part. So when you do both of them, when you do like the behavior part and the Galen myotherapy part, you don't know where one of them stops and the other one begins. It's like just a total package because you can't just separate them. So it's really, really important for me to have both of them. And I don't know which one of them, if I had to choose one of them, I don't know which one of them I would keep because I need them both, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, because it's so misunderstood and underestimated how much pain, how much influence pain has on the behavior.
Absolutely. And also I find it, for me, it's really hard when people try to train away the symptoms and they don't look at the root cause. And that is really, really hard for me to watch because we tend to say in my company that there is a difference between an electrician and a plumber. And that's the same when it comes to just training a dog to sit or be obedient and to do the behavioral work. So it's really, really hard. And when you see dogs that is, let's say, reactive, and then just teach them to sit with a bad back, it really breaks my heart. And most of them don't do it to be cruel to the dogs. They just don't know better, or they don't know about the dog being in pain. So I find the work of educating the everyday person into how can you say that your dog is in pain or discomfort, I find it so important because they really don't know.
And also not just the guardians of dogs, but I see a lot of um, lack of education amongst the veterinarians and also other professionals, also physiotherapists. And
Yeah,
as you said, it's so difficult to find when you have a dog with special needs, let's say, it's so difficult to find a vet or a myotherapist, physiotherapist, hydrotherapist, whatever, that is ready and willing to work with your dog in the way that he or she needs.
yeah. And also I think every professional should be better at, and including me, everyone, be better at listening to the owner because they actually know the dog, even though they don't have any qualification for knowing dogs. But what really bugs me, especially when you come with a dog that has issues, it is really annoying when people that work with dogs don't listen properly. I've had this a lot. I had my rehomed male and he was proper broken. So, like going to the vets, I always had to have a big argument, or just another person treating the dog. I had to have a big argument on how to handle my dog. Like when he was under, he had a surgery, and I said, don't wake him without me being there. And it took it forever for them to understand that it is actually important because I actually know what's inside, what's happening inside my dog, and I don't know what's going to wake up on the table. And it annoys me because it might just be a Norwegian thing, but we tend to have this pile of information, all my knowledge, all my in my fields of dogs, and people tend to sit on top of that pile and just guard it, and they don't want to share because it's my knowledge. I'm the best. Instead of sharing, and that's what I love about Galen therapy, because if they figure out something, find out something new, they want to jump to the rooftops and just scream it out to the world. And it's amazing because it's when all comes to all, it benefits the dogs. It benefits all the dogs that you can mate. So it's really annoying that people want to keep their information or their knowledge to themselves. Why can't people be better at sharing? It is
Yeah,
really fascinating.
this is not just Norwegian thing. As you said, it doesn't really help a lot of dogs if you just gather information and then sit on it. You
Absolutely
have
not.
to share it. If you want to do good for dogs, you have to share it.
Yeah,
And even when you are ready to share it, people are not ready to listen. So that's another thing.
it
Yeah,
is.
which makes it difficult. I mean, I understand from the from a certain point, I can understand it because it's difficult to admit to yourself that you did all this wrong. And I also still carry a lot of guilt over some things that I did with my dogs.
In Hundeskolen Syd, we have like this big banner, and it's a picture of the three of our dogs, and under it says "Know better, do better," and it is for us and for all the clients to see, because everyone, I think everyone will find something in the history where they regret something or would do something differently. But first of all, you can't. So stop beating yourself up. Just learn from it and don't do it again. Find another way to do it. Think otherwise, but don't beat yourself up because everyone has been there. We're just humans. So it's going to happen. So,
Yeah,
but
and
it is hard.
if you don't make mistakes, you can't learn. If you do it, you will make a mistake. If you don't do it, you don't learn.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to the pain part. I have heard a lot of times through the years that I have been working with dogs that dogs have higher tolerance for pain, that they don't feel the pain like we do. And you, as a specialist in this area, what would you say about this? Is there any
Uh,
comparison between uh, our pain, so human pain, and canine dog pain?
if you look at the brain and the similarity between our brains, I will, my statement will be no, they don't tolerate more pain. The thing is, with dogs, many dogs will live a life with chronic pains, as many people do as well. You have a sore neck or bad back and something. The thing is that it turns into be a normal. And when it's normal, you don't, it's not acute as a sprained ankle. It's nothing acute. It takes time to develop into a pain or a discomfort. So you don't see it as well as if they fall and they get lame in the leg. You will see it easily. But the chronic pain is sneaky and you will just adapt. So the posture of the dog will adapt into offloading the areas that is painful. Exactly the same as we do. If you have a sore neck, you will change your movement pattern. You will do things differently to avoid making your neck hurt. So with dogs that we work with from a Galma therapy point of view, we work with a lot of dog in chronic pain or long-term pain. So yeah, no, I don't think so. I just think they adapt and it just changes slowly.
Yeah, and also I had a knee operation, but I had pain before in my knee for 10 years. it's now all working, more or less. It's now working. But yeah, I really didn't feel it. I didn't know it until it broke off. And nobody else also knew it, because I did go to the doctors, and they didn't see anything wrong. Like, really, okay, they said that I have a little bit cartilage splinters, but that this is how it is, and that they would not operate, and that's it. That's all they saw. But yeah, the interesting thing was that I was constantly on my left leg, and my right leg would be, I was standing like this. So
Yeah.
with my right leg always, this also made me better, realizing that if, even without any education, that if the dog changes its posture, that means
Yeah.
that something is there, even if you don't see it.
Exactly. And that is also when you have like one bad knee. So the knee is the cause, but the effects of it going to be through your entire body, because you're going to be crooked in your pelvic region, and that's going to affect the back of your lower back, and then you're going to try to straighten up, and then you're going to have all sorts of issues. And that is actually what we do with dogs when we're treating them by Galen therapy. We looking at the effects, not the cause. We don't fix the cause, we fix the effect, and then we unwind the dog back to the root issue, and it will just go away. So it is really important, and we always say the dog is like a global dog, like a 360 view. So when I have bad knees. So when I went to the doctor, they just looked at the knees and they didn't find anything. They told me, if you're lucky, it's going to stop when you're 25. I was 15 at the time, and it didn't stop. So I went to I think it was a chiro actually, because he's quite interesting. He's a cool guy. And he just looked at me and said, I'm going to send you to x-ray, because your hips are just really, and your pelvic region is really weird. So what they figured was that my pelvis was tilted and rotated. And I've been walking with that for, when he fixed it, I think it was around 17 years. And when he fixed my tilted and rotated pelvis, my knees got better. Yeah, no one tried to figure out what happened. They just x-rayed my knees and went like, no, they're good. But the issue was I was in a car accident. So the issue came from the car
Oh,
accident, and it was higher up. And they didn't even think of the possibility of there's been something wrong other places in my body. And I went like, after I started the training and like got into this and started to got treatments myself, I went like, how can people be experts and they don't say the global picture? They just look at the knee, the cause. But my knees was the effect, it wasn't the cause. So it is really, really annoying when you meet people that isolate just like a bad arm and they're going to
mhm,
fix that, because
mhm.
most of the time it's not the bad arm that's the issue.
This is often the case with vets. I have clients and I immediately see, okay, this dog is not walking properly. When there is an obvious, or the dog is limping, then okay, you get some support to some extent. But sometimes is the dog is just not walking right, and you send it to the vet, and they just do the, the clinical checkup, and they say the dog is okay. There is no reason for the dog trainer to send you to the vet, and then you
Yeah,
have a problem. And
yeah,
that's why connecting physical health and behavior is so important.
absolutely. And also the fun, not a fun fact, but it is quite interesting. Most of the time, actually, the effect is more painful than the cause. So that's quite interesting. So for me, having a bad knee, which actually was the pelvis, my knees was blood. There was so much pain in my knees, but I didn't feel anything in the pelvic region where the issue were. So it's quite interesting. And also when it comes to lameness, I really not enjoy, but I find it funny when I remember a couple of years ago, I went to the vet with a friend. So I just sat in the car watching a dog being shown for lameness in a left thoracic limb. And this was actually a friend of my friend, and I will never forget this. So the vet had a look at the leg and everything, and I just looked at my friend and said, "But the issue is in the right back limb." And she was like, "Real for real?" She's tried to figure out this for like a couple of years, and I was like, "Okay, but can you just send her, ask her to call me, and I will just do a check for free?" Because she was so close to putting the dog down, and they couldn't figure it out because they just focused on the limping limb. And the sad part is that she never phoned me. So the dog had to be euthanized due to the lameness, but I didn't figure out why she was lame. And it's really sad because it took me, sounds like I'm really good, but it took me about 5 seconds to see where the issue were. And it was in the other end of the dog. So the global thing, the 360 thing is so important. It really is. And you can see it in human studies too, when it comes to stroke people. The way if you have a stroke and your right arm is lame or you can't use it, they just focus on the arm, but they forget to bring the rest of the body into the rehabilitation. So they did like this, they started something new with a dolphin going around on a TV screen, and you're going to follow the dolphin's movement with your hand, which is really interesting because then you connect the hand to the rest of the body, the fascia and everything, and you will actually get a functional movement instead of just working the arm statically. So it is really interesting to see how the world is developing in the fields of rehabilitation. And also, I feel bad for dogs because most of the dogs rehab exercises is taken from the human side, and they are not on two limbs. They are on four. So it is interesting. It really is.
I don't want to put down vets or physiotherapists because I know that they try and they do their
Yeah,
best and they do want to help. They are in the profession because they do want to help dogs, most of them.
absolutely.
Um, but also they are not really listening to the dog. And as you said, instead of focusing on the whole dog, um, they are just focusing on, okay, this exercise should do this and this and this, and we have to do so many repetitions to get the result. And this is so annoying. This is so
Yeah,
sometimes even heartbreaking because you see that the dog wants to do it. I really struggle with the dogs that really want to be good dogs
yeah,
and really want to, which is most of them.
yep,
um, and they want to please, and they do it even that they are in so much pain. And it's not helping them, it's hurting them even more. If you overdo it, it's hurting them even more.
absolutely. And then you can put one of my big red buttons into that. Everything is done with treats. So you're using a basic need to get them to do stuff to be better. And if I'm hungry, I would do quite a lot to get that food. On the other hand, I remember Amber Betson was talking about the 7 slots in the brain years back. So if you put out a treat, a lot of those slots will be occupied by eating. So you will have less learning because there's not room enough in the brain to focus on what your body's actually doing. So it's really interesting. And that is also why I like the way that Galen therapy does things and do the rehab exercises, because it is asking the dog, which is my favorite answer. When you ask something, people just go like, ask your dog. And I was like, oh, yes. So it is naturally. So it is all about getting the functional movements, not tricks, but functional movement. How can you enhance the functional movement of the dog? And that is really interesting to see. And also, I find most dogs liking it more than the static workouts. But yeah. So I love it to do it that way. And I also love for dog to have a voice in the treatment, which is the most important part for me.
I had an interview already with Julia Robertson. And
Yeah,
what is so important, she was also talking about how important it is to give a dog a break to think what just happened.
yep,
Not just how much he can do, but also what is happening in my body, and not just for his brain. I will say not brain, in his mind, what is
yeah,
going on, but that also his body processes what just happened. And
yeah,
sometimes one movement is enough for the
Yeah,
body to say, okay, I can do this. Let's try it more.
yeah.
So yeah,
And also, it doesn't help with a strong dog if they can't move functionally. So it's,
yeah,
yeah. And the other
that's
thing, when it comes to the thinking break, it is one of the things I love the most when dogs just get up and they go like, "Oh, I need to feel this," and there's a massive difference, which I always tell this to my clients because if I want to go to a massage therapist or a chiro or whatever, I will book an appointment and I will go there. My mindset is I'm going to get a treatment, I'm going to get something done with whatever is wrong with my body. But the dogs don't, most often, I have to say, don't book the treatment themselves. I live in Norway, we don't need vet consents. So I actually meet stranger dogs that know, for some odd reason, they know what I'm doing and they come over and ask me to do something. So most of the time, dogs don't book. It's the owner that book them and they just bring them into my place. And for me, it's so important for them to have a choice and to get time to get into what is this, what's going on, what's the plan, what's your intentions, because they don't have choice whether or not to get treated from the owner's point of view because they booked the appointment. So it's so important for the dogs to have a voice, and I really love the way of giving them all the choices they can and all the control in treatment as well. They tell me where they want me to work. They tell me when they need a break. And people go like, "Oh, it's never going to work." It does. It works wonders. And on by doing it by like the choice-led treatment and the positive pact, you can actually have really, really anxious dogs coming over, and you just ignore them, and they're just testing. What are your intention? What you're going to do? Are you going to touch me? And they just walk off, and you just wait. And in the end, they go like, cool. So they return and they ask me to touch them, and I do, and they say stop, and I stop, and they walk off. So some of my appointment is a start stop, let's call it that appointment, and I'll tell the owner if the owner is really hard to deal with, I just do it for free because it's better for the dog. So then the dog returns and they go like, I have a voice. So the second time they come in, they just sit and go like, or just come over and lay down. And they know if they say stop, it's a stop. And by doing it that way, you can get so much access to a dog and building such an amazing trust relationship between you and the client dog. So it is interesting. It's really fascinating.
it goes the same with the vet visits. I know that vets don't have much time, that they have clients, that they have appointments. I understand all of that. But if
Yes.
you give the dog some influence on how the visit will go, they are so much more ready to take even the unpleasant or even painful things that have to be done to them.
Yeah.
A lot of times people think that when you give a dog a choice, that means that you would just let it do whatever it wants. No, it's not. It's not that. It's just the
Nope.
stop and start. And yes, we have to do. Yes, you have to take a little bit of pain, but they can take it if they know that they have the power to stop when it's too much.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah,
It's the same as the dentist do. Raise your left arm if it hurts. It is,
yeah.
it's just, yeah, amazing. My late dog had hypothyroidism, so we have to do a lot of draws for her. And I always told them just give her 2 seconds because they all, not always, but many vets tends to hide the injection thingy. And I just said, can you please show it to her? And I was like, for real? I was like, yes. So she looked at it and went like, now I know what to do. So it's always about allowing them to see what's going to happen too. And if you have a relationship, for me, the trust between me and my dogs will be the most important part. I want them to trust me and I trust them. So if I would go to, it's not about talking bad about vets. I just have to clarify that. But in vets rooms, there's a lot of things happening, which is hard for dogs. So it's a great example. So for me to just hide like the syringe and everything and just attack her and do the blood draw will be such a crack in the trust between me and my dog. So it's so important. I think the trust part is like the most important thing, and you can ask them to accept quite a lot if they trust you. But never fool your dog is a stupid thing to do.
Okay, let's return a little bit again to the pain part. You will talk about signs of pain or how dogs show pain at your lecture at the conference. But
Yeah.
right now, if you would have one overlooked sign of pain, what would be?
I would say the loading of the dog. So you have, for
Okay.
example, a border collie, and they're really high in the pelvic region and low in the front, and they go like it's typically border collies. And I'm like, no. So I think posture, if I can just say posture, is the most overlooked thing because when you see it, it's just like the calming signs. When you first see it, you can't unsee it. It's the same with posture. When you first know how to look at the posture of a dog, you can't unsee it, and it's so revealing. So I would say loading.
I'm so happy that you said this and that you gave an example of border collies. Can you explain a little bit why this is not? Just in short, I know that it's a lot, but
It's the
just in
short
short.
version is that you want the straight back of a dog. There is some there is some dogs that are not so straight like greyhounds and stuff because they are naturally rosed. But a border collie should be square, 4x4, and a straight back line. So for me, it is more. I see it like I see behavior. Border collies are meant to hurt or to do like the sheeps and stuff. But that doesn't mean that they do cars or runners or bicycles. So even though border collie is created for being able to do this and sneak, it doesn't mean it's natural to move like that all the time, every day. So it's the same with all the breeds. It's a husky is made to pull sled things, but it doesn't mean that they have to pull all the time. So it is the same. So I want to see a border collie being quite straight and being able to do the getting down part. But walking like that is not a natural way of walking. It's not like a functional movement for moving from A to B. For doing the job, yes, it is, but not for walking from A to B. So yeah, we're gonna look more at posture when it comes to the AGM.
Oh, that's nice. I'm so happy.
Yeah, posture is so cute.
So I would thank you for sharing already some knowledge with us, and I can't wait for your lecture at the conference in September, and we'll see you there.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to hear all the other amazing people that's going to join us that weekend. It's
Yeah,
going to be
it will
amazing.
be amazing.
It will. And kudos for doing a pain related weekend. I love it.